Horror is one of the favorite genres, spanning from novels, movies, and of course, including electronic games. That's why every year sees a plethora of different titles in this genre is being released. From supernatural horror with stories that can haunt players for a long time after completing the game, to the simplest and most visceral types of intimidation in this genre, such as slashing or jump scares. Before starting the video, we hope you take a few minutes to give our channel a like, a share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And now, let's get started! Kicking off the list for today is Alone in the Dark, a title not unfamiliar to horror game enthusiasts fond of early era horror games. Returning with a remake on March 20, the game dealt a blow to the hearts of fans with less than optimistic reviews regarding both storyline and gameplay. Opinions on the failure of Alone in the Dark Return are divided. Some believe Pieces Interactive failed to properly revive a legend, while others think Alone in the Dark is outdated compared to contemporary games. However, looking at the positive reviews on Steam, it's clear that Alone in the Dark hasn't necessarily failed. In terms of gameplay, the game still holds some appeal and retains the spiritual values of its predecessors. Graphics have naturally been improved, and the storyline has undergone significant changes compared to the original. The surprising return of Detective Edward Carnby and Lady Emily Hotwood to the haunted Decito mansion can be considered a highly commendable aspect, so it would be a shame to miss out on it just because of a few online reviews. For me personally, why it may not have performed well enough to become a major hit. Alone in the Dark is still one of the games that you should experience this year, especially if you are a fan of detective games. Picnics, a common activity among teenagers in American horror movies, with the simple motif of a group of reckless youths stepping into a haunted area to challenge a clown, only to end up as victims and Becrowned, a game from 13th Street Studio, is based on that premise. However, this time the target is a small family on the vacation. Sounds familiar. It naturally reminds me of the newly released game Indika. So, to make it easier to imagine, I think Becrowned has a similar gameplay mechanism and a story to The Oath, but in a sci-fi direction rather than the spiritual one we know. The game also mixes in the feel elements reminiscent of Silent Hill, so some gamers are curious about it. However, I don't rate the graphics highly because everything looks a bit artificial, but Becrowned is still in development and hasn't had an official release date yet, so who knows? Maybe this flaw will be addressed in the future to turn it into a worthwhile gaming experience. Echoes of the Living is a classic survival horror game inspired by famous 90s horror films produced by Moon Glint and set to be released this year. The game's setting is in the fog-covered town in Europe in the mid-1990s, sounding quite similar to Silent Hill, isn't it? Following the typical pattern, the town's residents become infected with a strange disease from the fog, turning them into the mindless zombies only interested in flesh and attacking others. Players take on the role of Laura, a police officer trying to escape the town before being assimilated into the community. Initially, she stubbornly investigates what happened to her father, but due to psychological trauma, for some reasons, she ends up just fleeing for her life. In contrast to Laura is Liam, a guy looking to start over with his wife in the town, but finds himself caught in the midst of an outbreak. It had a strong scene of Silent Hill. However, fate will bind Laura and Liam together to find a way out of this place. Naturally, since it's a zombie game, shooting scenes and bashing undead heads are certainly present, but I'm unsure how far the developers can push the game. Nevertheless, for now, this is still a game worth looking forward to, at least if it doesn't blatantly copy what happened in Silent Hill 2. ranked 4th on today's list, but one of the most impressive names to me is Indika by Oddmeter. The game is a third-person horror adventure set around a young nun in Russia at the end of the 19th century, and of course, with a nun involved, there's bound to be religious elements. The period depicted in Indika is one of the most turbulent and religiously conflicted periods in Russia, where people began to debate whether God truly exists and whether the devil is truly evil. To push that debate to its peak, Oddmeter even gives the protagonist Indika, a nun with an innocent face who arrives at the monastery with a strained relationship with the devil. Hey, don't even think dirty thoughts about that, okay? With that relationship, Indika flees the monastery and begins her own adventure. Personally, I quite like indie games, so both the graphics and the gameplay of Indika appeal to me, especially the controversial religious theme, which is very attractive to horror games players. So for now, I'll be putting this game on my wishlist. The game is announced to be officially released on May 9th, so anyone who shares my taste should not miss it. After Mickey Mouse's lifetime contract with Disney expired, many games quickly rushed in to capitalize on the opportunity, and one of them is definitely Infestation, along with the controversies surrounding it. I've discussed the specifics of these controversies in the previous video analyzing the trailer, which you can review. At present, all we know that Infestation Origins is a horror game with a familiar ghost hunting mechanic where players will take on the role of handling abnormalities similar to SCPs, one of which is the mutant Mickey Mouse due to inhaling too much pesticide. Being labeled as a co-op game, this is one of the few games where you can invite your gaming buddies to foster teamwork on today's list. Of course, if the game only had Mickey alone, it would get boring quickly. So, to keep players engaged, the game developers have promised to introduce other monsters based on folk legends from different countries. It's so interesting, but we have to hope that Nightmare Forge games can overcome all the controversy about the game's half-hearted support and delivery. That controversy is still tense. If you are a loyal fan of vertigo games and the shooter genre, you surely can't overlook Metro Awakening, a VR game set to release this year. Set in the future of 2028, players will assume the role of Sutter, a fortunate doctor who survives the nuclear Armageddon explosion, embarking on a journey to find his lost wife. Obviously, if the storyline was that simple, there wouldn't be too much to talk about. But after the explosion, not only did Sutter lose his wife, but also the undead lying deep beneath the Moscow subway tunnels lost their sleep, so they raised from their graves, wandering around and seeking their victims. Hence, Metro Awakening is one of the rare games featuring exorcisms with a democratic rifle. The graphics are relatively beautiful, the gameplay is nothing out of the ordinary, and the storyline is quite fresh. The only downside is that the game only supports VR devices, so if you don't have VR, you can forget about playing this game. Luckily, the publisher has not yet officially announced the game's release date, so I guess I will be eating instant noodles from now on until then to save up for a VR set. If you're someone who enjoys narrative-driven games but prefers a less intense operating system, then you might want to take a look at Nascence, an indie first-person puzzle game developed in collaboration by Dream Painter Software and the Treehouse Studio. Set in a peaceful countryside village with a lush greenery and singing birds, Nascence may initially make you think you're about to embark on a virtual sightseeing tour, but it's actually a scene on an altar. About 100 years ago, this village became trendy for witch burnings, leading to a deadly epidemic, but all of it was covered up by a cult. You play as Thomas, a member of an organization dedicated to eradicating superstition and extremism, who arrives in the village to root out the cult and search for clues about a witch named Anna who was burned at the stake in the past. The producers have revealed that this game shares the same universe as the game Anna, released in 2012. and it's likely that Nascence is its sequel. I tried to find reviews of Anna, and most people say it was pretty average with nothing outstanding. I haven't played Anna myself, so I won't comment, but for now, I'm quite intrigued by Nascence, especially with its storyline about witch burning. Hopefully in the future, the developers won't disappoint me and all the fans of this theme. Next up, we have the Crimson Maid by Talent, a mysterious adventure game filled with vibrant colors. You play as Marius, a nobleman undergoing training to become a priest, who returns to his family estate after hearing that his own father is coming back to spend his final days with him and his father. It's there that Marius will meet a young maid named Irina and immediately fall in love. However, before the love story between the maid and the master can unfold, a crime occurs that shakes Marius' family, forcing him to temporarily set aside their love and seek the truth his family has been hiding for so long. It's been a while since I've seen a game set in a European noble family like this. I personally feel quite interested in the Crimson Maid. The game has a nostalgic feel, reminiscent of old puzzle games, so it might be an enjoyable experience for those who have a special passion for cross-class romance and the scandal of European nobility in the past. Oh, and the game is currently offering a free demo on Steam, so if you want to experience it, go ahead and download it to give it a try. We've had horror games with ghosts, monsters, psychological themes, and even serial killers, so it's only natural to include alien next. They are here. The Horrors of Alien Abduction is a first-person horror game without an official release date yet, published by Declazon, as expected, with aliens combat views for their spacecraft to land on. You step into the shoes of Taylor Fox, a journalist specializing in 3-minute news blog online, who visits the Great Wood Farm to shoot a documentary because there have been rumors of strange occurrences there. And like any other journalist, when there's nothing happening, you hope for something to happen. But when Fox comes face to face with aliens, they have to run for their life if they don't want to be taken aboard a spaceship for somebody probing. What's interesting about They Are Here is that instead of just running away like usual, Declazon will let players experience the real feelings of a journalist, from taking photos and documenting evidence to researching the found audio tapes. I think that's an appealing and worth experiencing aspect of the game compared to the one-note gameplay of many horror games nowadays. So, make sure to add it to your wishlist, as I don't think you will be disappointed. Next up, I've lost count how many times I've talked about Silent Hill 2 Remake, but it still hasn't had an official release date. Basically, I think you all know what Silent Hill 2 is, so there's no need to elaborate further. This remake will be developed by the Polish developers Reup team with assistance from Konami, and since they have previously worked on games like Layers of Fear, Blair Witch, and The Medium, I don't think we have much to worry about. From the trailer, we can see that the main elements like the white fog, the iconic handgun, and the eerie monsters are all preserved, although sadly we haven't seen the legendary pyramid-headed monster yet. But I think Reup team is just hiding it to surprise us later, because how could they leave out such a legendary creature? If they do, you can expect a massive backlash and the comparisons between the two legends. The only obstacle now is whether this return to Silent Hill 2 has enough breakthroughs to step out of the shadows of its predecessor. If not, you know what will happen. There will be a massive backlash and comparisons between the two legends. Besides the remake of Silent Hill 2, on January 31st, Hornet and Hexaglass released the game Silent Hill: The Short Message on PlayStation 5. The main character of this game revolves around a young girl named Indika, who receives a strange message from her deceased friend Maya and sets foot in an abandoned apartment building in Germany to find out the truth about her friend's death. It's here that Anita encounters a cherry blossom-headed monster tries to invade its
Cherry
pursuit, it
blossoms
sounds a
bloom
bit quirky, but because
within
the
the
monster
grasp
head
of
is
death.
covered by cherry blossom, it's called
What are
the
you
Sakura
hiding
head.
inside?
I haven't played this game because I don't have
Maya?
a PlayStation, but from the community feedback, this installment will receive a positive underscore 52 plus on the Metacritic. However, it's the worst game in the entire series and it's free, so if you have a PlayStation 5, download it.
What did I do to deserve this?
Honestly, to let you know, if you are a gamer with strong passion for the game, then you definitely shouldn't miss out on Sirens, an adventure hunting game developed by Silence Lab Studio and published by Nightline Studio coming soon. However, you won't be the one hunting sirens or searching for them. Instead, you embody a real siren who freely swimming in the deep sea, opening up the seafood buffet down below. I was quite surprised to hear about a studio making a simulation game about mermaids, but then again, if they are players for simulation games, why not make one about mermaids? From the trailer, we can see that life underwater isn't as peaceful as portrayed in the Miles About movie. Instead, it's extremely harsh. Not only will you deal with underwater creatures, sirens meaning us, will also be allowed to observe and prey on humans, taking another step towards dominating the world. Suddenly, being a mermaid sounds quite fun, doesn't it? I personally really like this game because it's both interesting and unique, so when it's released, I'll definitely download it to experience it and rate. How about you? Please comment below and let me know. Next up, we have Death Relives, a survival horror game with a hint of mythology. Developed by Zoochosis Studios and scheduled to be released in the second quarter of this year, the game revolves around the Aztec culture in the central region of the Americas, especially in Mexico, with its terrifying gods and sacrificial rituals. Playing as Adrian, a seemingly ordinary boy, you have to fight against the Aztec god, Totec, to save your mother from being sacrificed. Obviously, humans have no chance against gods, so you have to squeeze every nerve to control Adrian in the pursuit and evasion with the god throughout the gameplay. Because of its simple gameplay and relatively short storyline, this game will be suitable for those who love chasing and bloodshed, getting straight to the point without much fuss like Granny. Personally, I think this game is good for stress relief, but whether you get a heartburn or heart attack from playing it, I will take responsibility. Moving on, we have a first-person co-op shooting game set to be released in the fourth quarter of this year. Chasmal Fear. The game is set in a mysterious underground research facility, and you'll be responsible for dealing with the monsters below to uncover the truth about this facility. At first glance, the graphics of Chasmal Fear are quite decent, with relatively gruesome monsters, treating the standards for a current shooting game. The gameplay is relatively easy to understand, because shooting games typically have a few types of gameplay, so there's not much to talk about. At first glance, I don't see anything impressive or outstanding about the game other than the graphics, perhaps the secret development of shooting games. However, if you're looking for the cute monsters with beautiful graphics, I think you can try experiencing Chasmal Fear. The game has been officially released yet, but there's a free review mode available on Steam, so if you're interested in this genre, feel free to try downloading it to see if the goodness is or not. If you are a devoted fan of Cyberpunk 2077, BioShock and Borderlands, then you definitely shouldn't overlook the game I'm about to discuss. Project Hornet is the debut first-person shooting game from Anti-Static Studios, a game development team comprised of developers from three famous titles I just mentioned. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, in the game, you will be operative of a multi-field industries organization civilization, tasked with exploring irradiated areas and combating hostile forces. The game promises to be an open-world shooter with beautiful graphics, but the trailer was criticized by many gamers for looking cheap. However, some players believe this could be a marketing trick and the actual graphics of the game will be much better, as comparing the images posted on the studio's website show a vast difference. Personally, since this game has been officially announced, I'll refrain from commenting much on it. However, community feedback on this game is relatively positive. What do you think about this game? If you're passionate about serial killers with sociopathic tendencies, then Pneumata is definitely a title you should keep an eye on. Developed by Deadpool Interactive and set to be released in the second quarter of this year, Pneumata will take you to the quality apartment with mysterious disappearance abound. Whether all of it is man-made or if there's another hidden code, you can't know beforehand. Because throughout the game, you won't be able to distinguish what's real and what's fake. A small warning is that the game is labeled as violent, with many gruesome scenes and even include scenes of cannibalism and necrophilia, so those with a weak psyche should consider carefully before diving into this game. But if you feel that the warnings above are too much for you, then why hesitate? What do you think? For now, Pneumata has received quite a lot of anticipation from the gaming community due to its dark nature, and hopefully in the future, the game won't disappoint when officially released. Our Lady of the Drowned Lake, or the Drowned Lake, as is listed on Steam, is a simulated fishing game developed and published by the Monumental Collab in the near future. But seriously, what's scary about a simulated fishing game? Well, it's not scary at all. It's just you drifting on a boat through the river, flowing through the Brazilian forest at night. What's so terrifying about that, right? I don't know who came up with the idea of fishing at night, but you will experience the feeling of seeing the soul of a drowned woman haunting the lake at night and getting jump scared by the underwater creatures, the drowned maiden, the underwater spirits, and the nighttime forest. A perfect combination, especially for those who have childhood memories of drawing a boat to fish at night. The fear is double. So far, I haven't played any games with this kind of setting, so personally, I'm quite looking forward to what Drowned Lake has offered in the future. It's a bit unfortunate that there's still no official release date for this game, but it's okay. I think if the game is good enough, waiting for another year won't be a big deal, right? Our Lady of the Drowned Lake, or the Drowned Lake, as is listed on Steam, is a simulated fishing game developed and published by the Monumental Collab in the near future. But seriously, what's scary about a simulated fishing game? Well, it's not scary at all. It's just you drifting on a boat through the river, flowing through the Brazilian forest at night. What's so terrifying about that, right? I don't know who came up with the idea of fishing at night, but you will experience the feeling of seeing the soul of a drowned woman haunting the lake at night and getting jump scared by the underwater creatures, the drowned maiden, the underwater spirits, and the nighttime forest. A perfect combination, especially for those who have childhood memories of drawing a boat to fish at night. The fear is double. So far, I haven't played any games with this kind of setting, so personally, I'm quite looking forward to what Drowned Lake has offered in the future. It's a bit unfortunate that there's still no official release date for this game, but it's okay. I think if the game is good enough, waiting for another year won't be a big deal, right?
Now you're a knight.